similar levels of debt before back in World War II, where the debt to GDP ratio was 120%.
The United States government has $27 trillion in debt. How does each presidential candidate address this? This video will present analyses from multiple independent sources. It's not just enough to say, big number is bad, because the US economy is also really big at $29 trillion. My preferred measure is the cost of servicing that debt. In 2023, it was 2.4% of GDP. Today, at least, this is still okay. It's still below the 3% that we were seeing back in the 80s and 90s. But we're heading to overpass that shortly. It is also unusual to take out such large deficits in times of peace and prosperity. Large deficits should be reserved for wars and recessions. Unfortunately, neither candidate is running on some combination of tax cuts and spending decreases. They all remember what happened last time.
Read my lips.
But he had to raise taxes to lower this, which meant he lost re-election to Clinton, who eventually balanced the budget. The Wharton budget model shows Harris is planning to increase the child tax credit. Then combine this by raising the corporate tax rate to 28%. This is still a lower rate than what they saw in the 90s. In net, they estimate this will increase the deficit by $1.2 trillion over the next 10 years. Key provisions of the 2017 Trump tax cut are set to expire according to current law. Trump plans to extend those. He also wants to eliminate the income tax for high-income Social Security recipients, and then lower the corporate tax rate to 15%. In total, this would increase the deficit by $5.8 trillion. Quintuple the difference. Before we get too carried away, do note that all these type of analyses are very difficult to do and require making a lot of assumptions. That's why we're going to look at a variety of sources. The Committee for Responsible Federal Budget estimates Harris's plan will increase the deficit by $3.5 trillion in comparison to Trump's $7.5 trillion. The Tax Foundation finds Harris's budget will increase the deficit by $1.5 trillion, much of that coming from extending the 2017 tax cut for those earning under $400,000. Because somehow a single person making $250,000 every year convinced the DC establishment that they're not rich. For the effects of the Trump plan, note that the scale is a little bit different. This one includes the possible revenue from a 20% universal tariff, but still finds a net increase in the deficit of nearly $4 trillion over the next decade. The Tax Foundation also estimates the distributional effects. The Harris plan will increase the incomes for the bottom 40%, that is, people who are making less than roughly $70,000 a year. Because the Trump tax plan focuses heavily on tariffs and income tax cuts for the wealthy, they find that the after-tax incomes will decline for people who are making less than 70 grand. Unfortunately, neither candidate's plan is considered fiscally responsible. One candidate is far more fiscally reckless than the other.